Hello, good morning. I hope that everybody is well on this beautiful winter's day in January. Cornwall has got some really lovely winter sunshine today and beautiful blue skies, and later on I'm going to be taking the dogs out for a walk, and I'm really looking forward to being out in that sort of crisp fresh air, enjoying the day. Talking of days, every day is the same in lockdown. It's a real sort of problem to keep track of the days, and it was only last night I realised that it was actually the weekend. Oh dear me, it's a crazy time. This time last year I was with one of my dear friends in Arizona at the Attic's January Sampler Symposium, and we were having a wonderful time. We were with lots of other needleworkers who share our passion, and really enjoying our time at the Attic and in Arizona. I thank God for social media and the place it provides us to all come together and share our passion, to share our friendship, and give each other companionship, particularly in this time of COVID. I stop and think, what would my life be like if I didn't have my needlework and my needlework friends? And I think it would be very empty without you all in my life. Okay, so what have I been doing this week? I have been stitching, and we released a new sampler, the beautiful Jessie Watson. This sampler is such a special sampler for me, and I love a Scottish sampler. I absolutely adored the original sampler when I bought her, but Jessie has become one of the most important reproductions that I've ever done, that Hats has ever done. And the reason why is because of the story behind the model of this sampler. And I know that many of you who are watching the Flosstube have read my posts on social media, but not everybody who watches these Flosstubes is actually on social media. So I want to talk about the story behind this sampler in this Flosstube. Now, putting this PDF together for Jessie to be released, it was one of the hardest ones I've done, and it's taken me probably about 2-3 months to sort of really be able to sort of gather myself to find the words to put down on paper. And I know that if I try to explain, I'm going to probably have a little cry and maybe waffle and lose my total train of thought. So I'm going to read postscript in the PDF, and basically the story behind the reproduction of Jessie Watson is not one about the little girl who stitched the original sampler. Instead, it is one about a special friendship and an extraordinary needleworker who, with a little help from her friend and her own great determination, overcame huge hurdles to stitch again. The followers of Hats will recognise the names Isabella Uffendell and Eliza Bell Cox. Both models were stitched by J. Lee Halpin. J. Lee has always been an important member of our team. Not only a superb stitcher, J. Lee has an amazing eye for colour and a deep font of stitching knowledge. A long-time sampler lover, Jessie was a member of the London Sampler Guild and the Mid-Hudson chapter of the EGA. In August 2018, Jessie suffered a major stroke. Her dear friend Lisa sensed something was wrong when Jessie failed to make contact or interact in the needlework groups on social media. Through Lisa's concern from her friend, the alarm was raised and Jessie was found. The road has been a long and arduous one, but with the support and encouragement of her friends, Jessie is here with us today. Jessie no longer has use of her dominant hand, so has had to relearn to stitch one-handed. Lisa has been there supporting her friend every step of the way. Together, they have found solutions to problems such as how do you thread a needle when you're one-handed. Jessie Watson is Jessie's first completed sampler since her stroke, a truly staggering achievement. We are so very proud and honoured to present this perfectly stitched sampler to you. It represents so much from which we can all learn and take heart. Jessie has completed a further model which we will release later this year, and she's currently stitching a third. There is no stopping her now. Always remember that no hurdle is insurmountable with courage and determination. A person can overcome anything. We also included some words in the PDF from Jessie. Many of you know me as Kirby Bentley, some as Jessie James, but my real name is Janie Lee Halpin, Jessie for short. 2 years ago, I had a stroke, leaving me paralysed on my right side and unable to speak. All my PT sessions are doing good, and I love all my therapists. I was happy, yet something was missing, a void. Then one of my friends, that's Lisa, set me up with a case frame and needle and thread. Like magic, I was whole again, a calmness I had not felt since August 2018. I was stitching again. Stitching is my life, but my friends, both near and far, saved me. They cradled me with their love. Never underestimate the power of love. There's nothing like it. Needlework is such a wonderful hobby to have. It saves our mind, it feeds our soul, and Hats is so honoured to be able to present this perfectly stitched sampler by Janie Lee Halpin. I have so much admiration for Jessie, I really, really do. Most of you will recognise the name Kirby Bentley. Jessie was very, very active on Facebook as Kirby Bentley up until the time that she had her stroke. Jessie is available on the Hats website as a PDF download. She is a great little sampler to stitch. The stitches in her are, it's all cross stitch over 2 threads. There are some eyelet stitches, and there are 3 straight stitches that form the little door knocker. The eyelet stitches are this little motif here, here, and this gorgeous heart is all eyelet stitch. Now these eyelet stitches, because they have 16 legs rather than 8 legs, would be a little bit tricky to do on Ada, but you could substitute the eyelet stitch for groups of 4 cross stitches if you wanted to stitch this on Ada. So, it is available. It's not, you can, what I'm trying to say is you can stitch this on Ada with a slight modification. The sampler is stitched with a palette of 11 colours, and it was stitched with a Vera Soie's range of Soie 103. Jaylee has fallen in love with this silk, but because you just take it off the spool, when you're one-handed, it was a lot easier for Jaylee to use as well. The original sampler was stitched with wool, so we have provided in the PDF download a conversion for a Vera Soie's fine d'Aubusson wool, and we have provided conversions for Soie 103, Soie d'Alger and DMC, and we have broken the thread quantities down between 46, 40, 36, 28 count with 1 and 2 strands. So whatever you're stitching with, you've got the thread quantities in the PDF download. The stitch count is 133 stitches by 199 stitches. The model was stitched on Legacy's Linens Foxtail Millet, which is 45 count, and it's a beautiful linen to stitch on. The size of the design, if you were stitching with 14 count Ada 28 count linen, would be 9.5 by 14.21. If you were stitching on 36 count linen, which is 18 count Ada, it would be 7.39 by 11.06. And if you wanted to stitch her on 56 count linen, she would be 4.75 by 7.11. The original Jessie Watson, well, she did not put a date or a location on her sampler, but this sampler is most definitely a Scottish sampler. And we actually know of one other sampler that has this house, and the house is very distinctive. It's not solidly stitched, and it has 3 chimneys, and we know of this other sampler that has this almost identical house and this heart, and that sampler was stitched in 1816 by Christian Henry. Now, when you hear the Christian name of Christian, today we would presume that Christian was a male, but at this time Christian was a female name as well. Just going off the subject a little bit there. So Jessie is available. We hope that you enjoy stitching her. With the PDF download, there are 4 versions, and you get all 4 versions. There is a 8-page colour chart, an 8-page black and white chart, and a 1-page colour and black and white chart for stitching digitally off an electronic device. I'm losing my voice this morning. I think it's probably because I feel quite emotional presenting Jessie. There has been so much that's gone into the stitching of this sampler, and I also have to mention Lisa Brown, Jaylee's dear friend, who has supported Jaylee. Jaylee's in a in this country we would call it residential care home. Jaylee's in a facility where she has lots of support, and Lisa has been fabulous about setting up her her linen and her silks and her frame, and just being there for her friend. So there we are. There is Jessie Watson. I hope that you enjoy her. Last weekend we talked about Marion Horsebro. I didn't have her, she was still with my photographer and framers. Well, I've got her back and I've just got to show you. This sampler is so dinky, it's just gorgeous. I really, really love this sampler. You know, she's everything a sampler should have, but she's such a small girl. Now, I did stitch Marion on 56 count, but even if you stitched her on 28 count, she's not going to be a huge sampler. She is just absolutely adorable. And in fact, I'm just going to stop the video. I should have the original here to show you, and I haven't. I'm just going to go and get it. Right, I'm back. Here is the original Marion, and here is the model. I think the original Marion was stitched on something like about 24 count. I do say in the PDF for Marion the exact count of the original. So, you know, even if you stitched her on 24 count, she's not a big sampler. I'm fascinated by this sampler, and the splash of colour, and that little cottage is so adorable. Now, the original Marion is the giveaway, one of the giveaway prizes for a hat's 6th birthday draw, which takes place on the 26th of December. So somebody's actually going to win this original sampler. When lockdown is lifted, this is going to be have the frame refurbished, because the frame is a little bit battered, and I will have some conservation glass put in the sampler as well. This little model, I can't put it down. I've literally been moving it around the house to areas where I've been working, and I just can't take my eyes off it. And it occurred to me that I might have, rather than a you know, to hang it on the wall, I might have a picture frame back put on it, so that I could actually place it on a sideboard rather than hang it on the wall. And although you can't really see sort of like at the back of the room, I love picture frames, and I like clusters of picture frames, and I have photographs in picture frames everywhere in my house, and I was actually thinking that I might like to have a cluster of small samplers on a sideboard, and as well as this sampler wall of smalls that I'm building up as well. So this one I might not hang on the wall. I may just use this one as something to place in a cluster of small samplers. She sits really nicely with Lily. Now, this is one that I have been working on, that I want to have framed and to have displayed alongside Marion. And I'm very, very nearly finished with this sampler. Her name is Anne Morley. Let me just tighten this up. So her name is Anne Morley, and she stitched her sampler when she was 8 years of age. I showed you this last when I just stitched this border out. I've got 4 more motifs to add to this, and then she's finished. The colours in this sampler are so beautiful. Where are they? Now, she does use a lot of colours, and here they are. gorgeous colours. Now these two are the same. One is the Soie 100 and the other one is Soie Soothine, and I only actually used the Soie Soothine. No, I didn't, sorry, that's not correct. I've used both of them. The reason I've used both types of threads is that I've worked the butterfly bodies in the 103, but the over one of the name I have stitched with Soothine. This is 56 count linen, and cross stitch over one with 103. It's a little bit too thick for the count of fabric, so I just dropped down to a finer silk again, the Overa Soie Soothine, to do full cross stitch over one for the name, and so it's Anne Morley's work, aged 8 years, so that's all with the Soie Soothine. I know that you can substitute tent stitch for over one motifs, but when you're stitching text, tent stitch doesn't really give you the definition that you want. So a little trick is just drop down to a finer thread. I know that a lot of people don't like stitching over one, but you know, over one, it is no different to stitching over two. It's exactly the same stitch. You just need to have the right thickness or fineness of thread to sit comfortably. And what you have to be careful of is not to work against the weave of linen. And I thought that I would insert a little excerpt of a workshop video into this video for you to see how I do my cross stitch over one.
The last stitch we shall look at in this workshop is cross stitch over one thread. Many stitchers are deterred from working cross stitch over one. It is the same stitch as cross stitch over two. It takes no more effort. When you think about the stitch, it is made up of the same two straight stitches. A good magnifier will help you see the small stitches. Even if you have sharp vision, a strong magnifier, preferably a lighted one, reduces eye strain and allows you to see each stitch much larger than life. When laying cross stitch over one, you have to be careful not to pull the thread through the intersection of the woven linen threads. The warp and weft fibres are not interlocked at intersections. They simply pass over and under one another. As a result, when stitching over one thread, some stitches can slip and disappear. I normally lay my stitches away from the direction I am working. This prevents the thread slipping through the intersections.
I hope that was of interest to you and will help you with stitching over one. Don't be afraid of over one stitching. Don't put any hurdles in front of you. And take note from Jaylee and Jessie that everything's possible if you really want to succeed. My mind is thinking of my next project. I should finish Anne tonight if everything goes according to plan, and I already have in mind the next sampler that I'm going to stitch, and with all the linen I've got, you think I would have the right colour, but I didn't quite have the right colour in the right count of the right size cat of linen. So I had some linen that the colour was a bit wishy-washy, and it'd been in my stash, and I thought, well, I'm not going to waste it. So I decided to dye a piece of linen myself, and I'm really pleased with how my dye job turned out. This is a really, really lovely piece of linen, and we've got a little bit of aging into the linen, and how I got this sort of vintage look was I dyed the linen once, and then I let it dry, and then I re-dyed it using a blusher brush, great big blusher brush, and splodging the colour on and mixing it up, and for the very first attempt at over dyeing some fabric, I was actually really, really pleased with that. So this is a good match for the sampler I'm going to start. The sampler I'm starting is a fairly biggish one, so I'm breaking out of my stitching very small samplers. I'm waiting for a sampler to arrive that I've bought, which is going to be another really, really small one. I'm very, very determined to build up this collection of smalls. With hats is always the end result of my passion and Sandra's passion for needlework. So really, we're sharing our needlework journey with you, and what comes out at the end in charts for you to stitch is really a result of our needlework journey. And we all go through phases in our lives. I have a beautiful, beautiful band sampler that I have stitched probably 6/8 of it. I've just got a small band left to finish, and it's a beautiful, magnificent, complex band sampler. But I've got no desire to work on band samplers at the moment. I'm just enjoying exploring a little different avenue with my needlework. And you know, with Anne Morley, these colours, some of these colours or colour combinations, I have not used before. Like, look at this green. That's such a different green. I can't recall stitching with this particular shade of colour before, and combining it with the other colours in this sampler, and you know, doing different styles, using different colours, using different techniques, it keeps our interest fresh in what we're doing. I have an urge now to stitch an entirely red sampler, but not a big sampler like a Bristol Orphanage sampler. I want to do a really, really small red sampler to tie together the smaller samplers that I have, because the common theme with these multicoloured samplers is red. The other thing is I'm getting ready, you know, next month is Valentine's Day, and I'm getting ready to give this sampler to my husband, which I stitched well, it was meant to be for Valentine last year, but I didn't finish it, so it's for Valentine's 2021. And the dedication on here is, "Thy love divine that made me thine shall keep me thine forever." A lady finished this sampler as a Valentine's gift for her husband, and she posted a photograph on social media. It was so lovely to see somebody else doing this for their husband. So if you are looking for a Valentine's gift for your husband this year, this is available as a PDF download on the Hands Across the Sea Samplers website. Again, the colours on here were colours or combinations of colour that I haven't put together before, but these colours on this sampler were all taken from my husband's favourite shirt. Maybe an odd way of choosing colours, but because this was a gift for my husband, I just felt that it was putting thought into the sampler of what would appeal to him. Okie dokie. Oh, this is Amelia Batchelor. I had her back from the Framers as well, and I adore this sampler. She's not released yet. I have a lot of models finished, waiting for the PDFs or the booklets. And she will release sometime in this year. I would very much like to get a printed booklet out, but with COVID, I don't really see that happening. The post office in our village, you have to queue to get in there, and it's very small, and they get this virus, you feel anxious, but I really would like to get a printed booklet out soon. And no matter what happens, Queen of the May this year, I really want that to be a printed booklet. So there we are. This week coming marks a really odd first anniversary. I have gone a whole year without buying a pair of shoes. Now, I love shoes. I'm very heavy on shoes. So, I can justify I need a new pair of shoes. I can't believe I've gone a whole year without a pair of shoes. I've bought a new pair of walking boots, but not shoes. When I was in Arizona this time last year with my friend, we both ended up buying a pair of slippers, and we laugh to ourselves when we chat that our pair of slipper purchase in America, it was a very strange thing to come back from a transatlantic needlework trip as a pair of slippers, but it's what we have worn more than anything in the last 12 months. COVID has really changed our lives. There we are. Hugo and Bertie, they are inseparable. They will, this week Ray took Bertie out for a walk, and I took Hugo out for a walk. We just felt that Hugo needed to have, to learn to be a little bit independent of Bertie, and of course on the 28th January we have got Hugo's appointment with the cardiologist, and he has to go into vets by himself. Bertie can't go with him, I can't go with him, and we just want to try and get him used to not relying on Bertie or Bertie's lead. And I'm starting now to take an object and rub it against his chest, so he's going to start to get used to the machine for the ultrasound scan that he's going to have. I'm just trying to think about ways I can make it easier for him, so that it's not so frightening or overwhelming for him. But honestly, he is thriving. He can run and run and run. He'll run up a hill, and he's not breathless. So I am really hoping that everything's going to be all right with him. But I will let everybody know as soon as I know on the 28th of January. Okay, so I think that I ought to bring this Flosstube to a close. I hope that everybody will have a good week ahead, and I just want to say that when I published Jessie Watson, Jessie didn't have a sentiment on her sampler, but the sentiment that I chose for Jessie's PDF was, "Those who wish to sing always find a song." And I hope that you will all find a song this week to sing. Take care. Bye-bye.